Okay, so I decided that I was ready to make a video explaining in detail my stillbirth story and my birth story. I wrote some things down that to keep me on track, things that I feel like people would want to know. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. So I found out I was pregnant with Kalilah February 2017. We were trying to get pregnant, and I was very excited, and my husband was very excited. I remember I missed my period by just one day, and I had the pregnancy test ready, and I took it really early in the morning. I woke him up and I was like, look, I'm pregnant. So that's how I found out. And then right then and there, I told my friend Kiara, and I told her first. According to my missed period, her due date was November 1st. Had a pretty easy pregnancy. Like, I wasn't sick. I didn't have morning sickness. I carried very well. The only thing I could really remember about my pregnancy that I didn't like was the heartburn and just the physical changes on your body, especially near the end. In the beginning, when you're really fatigued and tired, and near the end. But other than that, I had a really good pregnancy. I wanted a water birth, so I was going to specific doctors and midwives to go to this special hospital in Atlanta so that I could have a water birth. I remember after, I think, 36 weeks in your pregnancy, you go to the doctor once a week. So I was going to my weekly appointment. And my 39-week appointment, I remember it was October 26th. It was like a Thursday. And I went to my appointment, and everything was fine. And I remember they always ask, like, do you have any concerns? And I was like, well, I feel like the baby's not really moving, like not really as active. Like, I just, you go the whole pregnancy and used to kicks and punches, and now it just seems like the baby's really slowing down. And the midwife, I remember her saying to me, like, no, that's normal. The baby's preparing for birth. Don't scare yourself or anything, and we'll go ahead and, give you a test to make sure that the baby's fine. And they went ahead and tested me, and the baby was fine. Well, Kalilah, her heartbeat, and everything was fine. So I was assured. I went back to the doctor Wednesday, November 1st for my, I guess I was 40-week appointment. And my friend Ariel was there with me. She had came down for the birth because we figured she would be here within that week. And I remember I went to class. I came home from class and picked up Ariel. We went to the doctor. I remember waiting a long time. I never really wait long in the doctor, so I remember waiting a really long time. And by the time they got us, they put me in the room, took my weight and my blood pressure, everything. We were in the room. We were waiting for the midwife to come. Me and Ariel were talking, and she was like, do you have any concerns? I'm like, no, just what we could do to get the baby out or whatever. And she's talking to us. She said, all right, well, let me just check the baby's heartbeat, and then you could go. And then she was on the Doppler. She couldn't find the heartbeat. But I'm like literally not paying attention because I'm so used to it. I've been doing this for 9 months. I'm just like not paying, like it's not a big deal to me. She's like, okay, so maybe the baby is this way. Let's go to the other room, to the other machine. So I'm like, okay, I'm all fine. Still talking to Ariel, like not paying any mind really. And then we got to the non-stress test machine, and they hooked me up to it, and I heard a heartbeat, so I was fine. And it looked like the technician was having a hard time. And I remember seeing Ariel's face, and she was very like scared. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with her, because I heard a heartbeat, but at the time I didn't realize that it was my heartbeat I heard and not the baby's heartbeat. And I just remember her looking so distraught, and I'm like, this girl is so dramatic. Like, I remember. So the midwife came back in, and then she said, okay, we're gonna go to the ultrasound. So I'm like, okay, like I'm still not thinking nothing of it. Like, I'm just ready to get the baby out or whatever we gotta do and see what's going on. So we get into the ultrasound room, and the technician is starting the ultrasound, and she's looking, and I go ahead and I look at the screen. So after a while, I'm like it's very quiet. Like, you start to feel the energy change, and it's like, okay, wait, something's not right. So I'm looking on the screen, and I don't see her moving at all. Like, and if you've been pregnant, or if you know anything about ultrasounds, you can see movement. I didn't see any movement. And then I didn't see a heartbeat. Like, I didn't see anything. So I remember being in a shock. Like, I was like, she doesn't have a heartbeat? Like, and like, because no one said it. Like, no one, I didn't get those words, like, I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat. Like, I didn't get that. I got, like, everyone was just quiet and like, just, I guess, not really know how to deal with it. And I'm like, wait, what? And it's just crazy. I was really in a shock. I was sitting there very calm, like, wait, she doesn't have a heartbeat? Like, what do you mean? Like, what? There's no way. Like, what are you talking about? And they went and got the doctor, whom I've never seen before. They brought the doctor in the room. The doctor was just trying to explain to me that my baby no longer had a heartbeat and what was going to have to happen to me, and I was still going to have to deliver, but I could go home, and all this stuff the doctor was trying to explain to me, and I couldn't process it. Like, I don't even think I heard her. Like, I feel like it was one of those moments on TV where you hear the doctor talking, but it like fades out and you can't really hear what they're saying. Like, it was kind of like that. And I'm just like, I just said, ma'am, I don't even know like what you're trying to tell me right now, but I need to call my husband. So I'm trying to get my phone and everything. I was like, no, like, you can't call him. Like, you're not gonna call him right now and tell him this. So I'm just like, okay, so what am I doing now? And they're like, you know, you can go home and you can go to the hospital later on tonight, whatever. So I'm like, okay, so whatever. So we leave and walk to the car, and Ariel is like, she's distraught, she's crying, she's broken down. I'm like, are you okay? Like, do you want me to drive? And she looks at me like I have 3 heads, because I asked her, did she need me to drive, because she looked like she was in no shape to drive. So she's like, no, I'm driving. So we're driving, and now it's like 4:15, almost 4:30, and it's traffic, and I'm sitting there, and I don't know, it just hit me really hard, and I just started like screaming, crying, like screaming. And I think what happened was I had called Aaron, like I made an outbound call and then I hung up. So he had called back and I didn't answer, and then he was texting me. So he was in a group chat with me and my 2 other, well, me, him, my friend Kiara, and her husband were in the group chat because we both expected babies around the same time. So they're all in the group chat, like, oh my god, like, she just went to the doctor, I think it might be time, she's not answering, I think something's going on. And then they're like, okay, Aaron, we're gonna come get you, we're gonna go to the hospital. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry tonight, but I wasn't ready to deal with that. Like, I had just 5 seconds ago processed that my daughter had died, and now I have to tell her dad that, like, I didn't want to be the person that had to break his heart. Like, I wish that he was there so he could have experienced it, and, you know, they could have told him. But for me, like, I had, like, at that moment I realized that I had to be the person to go home. I realized that I had to be the person to break his heart, and I think that's when I really, really broke down. It was really hard, but I went home and he was there and my mom was there, and I didn't say anything to them. I walked straight past them and I went into the room, and I was like, I was just crying, and I guess somehow I said, like, you know, like, she doesn't have a heartbeat or she passed away. I don't know what I said exactly. I just remember him, like, being very quiet, like, very quiet. Like, he didn't really respond. Like, he just was, like, in a shock. And it was hard because, like, he had, like, the hospital bags and the car seat and everything was, like, by the door because they thought we were in. So I was trying to figure out, like, what am I about to do? So I wanted to call my dad. So I called my dad and I told him, and it was really bad because he was just screaming and just, you could just hear all the pain in his voice. And my mother was just overreacting, saying, you have to go to the hospital, because the baby's gonna hurt you. Like, the baby can't be dead inside of you because it's gonna hurt you. Like, and I'm just like, it was just so many things at one time. So we finally figured out what hospital to go to, because the hospital I was going to was way, way far out of the way because I wanted a water birth. So at this point, I didn't want to go there. I wanted to go to my local hospital and just get over with, basically. Got in the car. I remember, like, right when we got on the highway, it started raining, and that's how I knew that like there was not going to be anything that they told me different at the hospital or anything like that. Like I knew once, I don't know, maybe it was the universe or God communicating with me, but once I saw the rain, I knew that it was done. So I get to the hospital, and because this is not the hospital that's expecting me, I have to explain like, hey, I went to the doctor, and hey, the baby has no heartbeat and all this stuff. So they take me into triage, and of course naturally they're looking for the heartbeat again. They check again, and the doctors are like, you know, this is common, and I just want you to know that nothing is your fault, and what probably happened is it's probably a cord accident. The umbilical cord probably wrapped around baby's neck, and I just want you to know it's not your fault. And at the time, it's nothing that anybody could really like say to you. You're just really trying to figure out how the clock is still ticking, how is it still moving. So this doctor is really trying to explain to me that I'm going to have to deliver this baby. Like, I understood that there was still a physical baby inside of me, but I didn't think that I was going to have to deliver the baby. I thought there was some procedure that they were going to do to get the baby out. I didn't think I was delivering the baby. I just never thought that. That just was the furthest thing from my mind. And this doctor had really broke it down to me that I was going to have to deliver the baby. And I'm just like, I can't do that. Like, that's impossible. Like, that's torture. Like, we waited a really long time for a room because, of course, they want to give the room to the moms that are actually delivering babies. So we waited a really long time for a room. Once we got in a room, it was late at night, maybe like after 10 p.m. And they gave me Cervidil. I don't want to make up the name, but they gave me medicine that basically helps you dilate, because I was not dilated at all. That induces the labor. So they gave me that, and I'm changed into hospital clothes as if I'm gonna, like, it was the worst thing ever. I really wanted a C-section, like, or some type of procedure where they was gonna get the baby out, but I really had to deliver it. And that's all I could think about at that point, like, was how am I gonna do that? Like, why are y'all torturing me? Like, why are y'all making me do that? They're like, no, a C-section is an unnecessary surgery. That wouldn't make sense for us to do. You might want to conceive again. And I'm just looking at these doctors like, y'all are crazy. I have this written here, so I'm just gonna say it. I just really wanted a baby. I wasn't jealous of anyone else that did have a baby. I just didn't understand why I didn't have mine. I wanted my baby. I didn't want someone else's. So I wasn't jealous. I just felt like, you have one, where's mine? Like, it didn't make sense to me. But okay, so I was in labor for maybe like 23 hours. Yeah, maybe like 23. They continue to give me that medicine. So I don't know if it's Cervidil or Cervidil, I don't remember, but they continue to give me the medicine. Maybe every 3 hours they gave it to me, and my cervix dilated more and more. I remember the next day they broke my water. I don't know what time it was, and that part was really hard for me because I just felt like, I don't know, now I know that every labor is different, every situation is different, but for me that was supposed to be a big deal. Like, you know, your water broke, you go to the hospital. Like, I remember waiting for that moment. So the fact that it just happened, like, it was really bad. I remember my contractions speeding up and just laying there, and I think the TV was on. I don't know what was on the TV. Just laying. I just remember laying there like, this is not like happening. Like, what is, like. But at this point, I knew there was no life. I knew there was no movement. I could feel it. I was very connected to my child, and I knew at this point, like, it just felt still, it just felt wrong. It just, it's really hard because you have to sit there and watch, and you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything to save your baby. You can't do anything to change what it is. It just is that. I remember the nurses asking questions like, you know, do you want an autopsy? Are you going to cremate the baby? Are you going to bury the baby? Just questions you're nowhere near ready to answer, and you're just like, what? Like, it's just gut-wrenching, the questions that they ask you. my husband absolutely didn't want an autopsy, and I respected that. And when I thought about it, I didn't either, because I didn't want them to mess with her body. Like, I know what autopsy consists of, and I didn't want them to bother my baby. Like, she was very peaceful, like she was sleeping, and I didn't want that. Like, I just wanted them to leave her be. They figured to do an autopsy to figure out the cause of death, but at that point, like, a cause or knowing what happened wouldn't have done me any good. Everyone feels different about it, but I just feel like she's not here, and that's the way God wanted it to be. So it doesn't matter what you say happened, because what happened is God took her. God came and took her, and that's just what happened, because she could have had any disease in the world and she could have still been here. So like, that didn't make a difference to me. Everyone's different though, but that's just how I felt. I blame myself for a really, really long time, because I just felt like I failed. I feel like I failed my baby. I feel like I should have known. I felt like I should have done this, and I should have done that, and I should have just done everything. And for a very long time, I blamed myself. It's hard not to. You feel like as a woman, you failed. You feel like as a mother, you fail. You feel like as a wife, you fail. You feel like you let everybody down. Like, you were supposed to be able to do something. And I felt like that for a long time, until I accepted that God is in control and I'm not. That was the only way I was going to be able to let that go, to know that I was not in control. I remember sitting in the hospital, like, checking out, like, of life, and I just remember feeling like, yo, my husband's gonna hate me, and I can't blame him, because this is my fault. And, you know, things are just never going to be okay. There's no way me and him are going to be smiling and happy, and life is going to progress, and things are going to be okay after this. Like, there's no way. Like, there's no way I'm going to go to school and I'm going to have friends and we're going to laugh and be happy. Like, there's no way any of that is going to happen. I just didn't believe it. But I remember when I was pushing, he was just right there next to me, just saying how strong I was and how I was going to be able to do it, and how I was going to be able to get through it, because I didn't believe that at all. He was there, and he told me, I'll never forget, he said, I never thought that I could love you more than I do, but after watching you be strong, go through that, I definitely love you more now. Like, I love you more than I already did. Like, I don't even know. I said I wasn't gonna cry, but I'm doing good. Y'all don't even know. So, I gave birth. I remember pushing her out, and I remember it being so quiet, man. I think that's the worst. It was so quiet. All you hear is the sound of, like, the doctors moving and messing with the tools. That's all you hear. And you're on the floor in the hospital where everyone else is giving birth, and you hear babies and you hear crying, and your baby does not cry. I remember them putting her on my chest, and I remember feeling, oh my gosh, she's so heavy. But she wasn't really heavy, but it just feels like that. And, you know, for that millisecond, I was in a shock, because I still gave birth. Like, I still had a baby. A baby still came out of me, and I was in that shock because I couldn't believe it. It was like, wow. And I remember looking down, she just had a head full of hair. Like, all I saw was hair, and it was a baby on my chest that came out of me. And it was empowering, even though she wasn't alive. It was a very, very, very defining moment in my life. And I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget it. It was just like, wow, like, I created this. And the nurse took her and Aaron, like, washed her off, and then I dressed her in one of her outfits that I packed in her bag, and I wrapped her up under her blanket, like, I swallowed her, and I held her, and I talked to her, and I sang to her, and I let Aaron hold her, and he talked to her, and my mom was there, and Ariel was there, my friend Kiara was there. I let them come in the room and see her, and it was really, really hard. And Aaron came back in the room, and he took her from me, and he was like, okay, it's time to say goodbye. And the way my heart ripped out of my chest, I just remember screaming, like, no, like, my heart literally ripped out, like it was gone, like it was being pulled out of my chest. And the nurses took her out of the room, and I just cried. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe that that was the outcome, that I was gonna, like, we stayed at the hospital for like 3 or 4 days. I don't know, it feels like a week. And I remember we had like a leaf or a tree or something on our door, and I'm very observant, so I knew that that meant something. So it basically meant, it was there to indicate to the staff that we had a loss. Before we left the hospital, I wanted to see her again, and I took some pictures of her. Before they gave me a box, like a memory box, before I left. And I remember Aaron going to get the car, and the nurse pushing me out in a wheelchair, and I did not have a baby in my arms. I had a box. And she pushed me to the car. I got in the car. We drove home, and Aaron was talking and just giving, you know, just saying this speech. He was being so supportive and so empowering, and all I could think about was, when I get home, it's gonna be really bad. It's gonna be really bad. It's gonna be really bad when I get home. It's gonna be really bad. And I got home, and I went to her room, and I just cried in there. I just closed the door, and I just cried, and I just cried, and I just cried, because I just feel like, wow, we were so prepared. We had everything, like everything, things we didn't need. We had multiple of things, and we don't have a baby. Like, I'm really at home, and I don't have the baby with me. Like, this is crazy.